I'm Matthew Darlitz from the Science of Psychotherapy, and here's a quick snippet from our podcast. This is me talking with Richard Hill about client responsiveness.
Really, the task of the therapist is to return the burden of responsibility, or the action, the work of the responsibility back to the client, because that's where the healing takes place. That's where the changes take place, and it's contributing. And we focus our work on what we call client responsiveness.
Okay.
So, because Rogers sort of put clients in the centre, we sort of had that very client-centred. But this is even more, and it's terribly important in the context of the vigorous conversations going on at the moment about the need for feedback, and that, when you actually go and ask clients, particularly in agencies, whether they're feeling better or whatever, quite often they say, "No, I'm not," and nobody ever asked me. I just kept doing the therapy that the therapist was telling me to do, and actually I don't feel any better. And so there is a sense, I think, in a lot of therapies, that what the client says and does adds to it, but the therapist is looking at how that relates to what they're doing. It's different from the other way around, as what the client says is the determinant of what the therapist does.
Right, which is truly client-led therapy, right?
Yeah, client-led, or in that regard, and it just sounds nicer to be responsive, that client responsive. And it's extraordinary how simple it can be. And the way we do it is we're, in Mirroring Hands, is to look at what we call ideodynamic responses. Now, this is actually what happens in a lot of therapies, but we actually specify it. And ideodynamic responses are ideomotor responses, so where there's a motor action that isn't consciously sort of forced or pushed or directed. Or there's an emotional response, or there's a pain response, or there's other biological responses that we can actually monitor. So, when you say to somebody something, you're talking to them in therapy and they're talking about something, or you're saying something, and they have a big sigh.
Okay.
Now, that's something to respond to, not something to go, they sighed, yes, now they're relaxing a little bit. It's like, oh, wonderful. Look at that beautiful deep breath.
Okay.
I wonder how that deep breath and is relevant. And you see, the therapeutic consciousness is not just the client. It is the therapist.
Okay.
The therapist needs to be focused, curious, and looking for these nascent possibilities.
Well, if you want to know more about the science of psychotherapy, come across to our website, thescienceofpsychotherapy.com, and our podcast of the same name, and learn more about the science of you.